Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our final panel discussion of the day. I'm really excited to introduce this session on Africa as a region of opportunity. So moderating the session today, we have Raphael Wissans, Head of Global Projects and Industry Solutions, MIA at DB Schenker Middle East, and one of our advisory board members. So delighted to hand over to Rafa, who will introduce the panel.
Well, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay, good. So, yeah. Well, thank you so much for attending this panel. I think that, we'll be really interested the next 40, 45 minutes to find a global outlook on what is happening in Africa and what is the projects, the main projects, and some ideas, some tricks on how to enter on the market, which countries, and so on. So panelists in this discussion are my colleagues that are sitting here. I will start with Mohamed Abdelhadi Yahab. He is more than 35 years in the industry. He is entrepreneur, founder, and chairman of a company called Maurilog in Mauritania. He is also recently involved on helping the localization in Mauritania and develop the country to get higher standards. So next we have Christina Priser. She is associate partner of HPC, Hamburg Ports Consultancy. He's more than 20 years involved on the consultancy studies on engineering, how to develop the ports, and they specify mainly in Africa. And last but not least, we have Ashit Seth, which is the chairman of SIAC, and he has more than 30 years experience. He started his own business long ago, and he successfully has reached the level where his companies are. So, having done the introductions, the first point we will talk about the outlook. So, when we talk about Africa, I will give a brief introduction, and I promise that I will keep quiet so the rest of the panelists can talk. When we talk about Africa, well, we have a big continent with 54 countries, so many different geopolitical barriers, and hold on, give me 1 second. Liesel, can you give me the app? Sorry, because we want to move the one slide. Yeah. So what we can see here is the current GDP African countries in 2022. So, this panel discussion is not intending to be like a lesson. So I promise it will be very, very quick. So we can see that we have Nigeria, South Africa, Egypt, Algeria, Morocco, Kenya, are the main companies. So if you can see, this slide is what is expected to be in the next year, 2023, as GDP change with respect of 2022. So what intends this slide is to show which countries are going to jump from or evolve more in 2023 and 2024, when the dark color means higher and light color means lower. So, in terms of outlook, I would like to start with Ashit. So, how do you see, in Africa, where you have, the very high return of investment, but at the same time, too many risks, too many problems. How do you see the outlook for Africa?
The outlook for Africa is very, very promising. If you talk about the next decade, it's Africa. all the 45 countries of Africa have really pulled up their socks in order to create a very good infrastructure, trying to create a very good infrastructure, be it in terms of the roads, be it in terms of the ports, the terminals, the industries. A lot of investments are getting into Africa. The GDP of the world is about 2.7, whereas Africa is 3.7 in the coming year. That is what is predicted. Last year it was 3.6. So Africa is an emerging market. A lot of minerals, oils, natural reserves in Africa gives it an edge over the other world in order to develop and grow from what it is today to what it could be reckoned about tomorrow as an investment destination. If you talk about the different areas of Africa, the north, the south, the east and the west, each area has its own advantage of growing the infrastructure. Billions of dollars have been planned as far as the investment in Africa is concerned in order to develop oil and gas industry, green gas, infrastructure, and in every segment, whenever you set up any new industry or any new venture, logistics will play a very, very vital role. So to all the players of logistics here today, I think Africa should be your next destination, which will widen your horizons in terms of providing good services and quality services. Financially, Africa has been proven to be the destination which gives you the best return on your investments. So you have to have faith and a long-term planning to get into Africa and be there for a long term in order to get back onto your investments or your establishment in Africa. So I see a very promising future for Africa.
Okay. No, I mean that's well. Having 40% of the exports are the crude oil, and 35 or 40% also the export of the mining. So, and then the import is 7% only on the global scale for the transport product. So I mean, it is massive the transformation process that can happen in Africa in order to satisfy all the requirements, all the demands, to employ, to train the people so the people can transform the raw materials. So Mohammed, what do you think about Mauritania and in general?
Mauritania is a genuine African country. In North Africa, we look at the prospects of Africa as big opportunities for Mauritania. We already have among the 10 major projects in hydrogen, 3 of them are Mauritanian.
Okay.
Signed with major companies like BP, CWP, Chariot, and Total. Why? Because of our location. The market is close, Europe. And because also of our real and very, very important assets. We have large available lands off coast of the Atlantic with a huge resources in wind and solar, which is going to make of us one of the big players. The government already participated in very important studies with European Investment Bank, with Conex, to draw the roadmap for the sector. For Mauritania, it will have a big impact because we are a small country, huge in superficie, but small in population. We are only 4 million. You can imagine easily what impact it will have. And also we have big resources in iron ore, copper, phosphate, fisheries. Producing local energy with low cost, it will help us decarbonize our mining industry.
Okay, thank you. I mean, no, it's very inside thought. I mean, well, we were talking about Mauritania, but can also be the rest of Africa, you know. So, Christina, in terms of as a consultant, so how do you see the outlook for the development on the infrastructures of the ports, of the terminals that you are expert?
Right. I think port infrastructure is one thing because the number of terminals you can build up new as a greenfield terminals is limited, but what plays a major role is the supply chain in total. So the hinterland connection for ports is very important because you can build a port infrastructure, but when the hinterland is not working, the port is not working. So, and especially in Africa, I think the focus should be there now, because logistics costs in Africa are extremely high, and the connection between the African countries is limited. So focusing on supply chains, and not only with regard to ports, but also, for example, with regard to mining industry and other resources, and also not at least also for the green hydrogen developments. It's very important to have in mind the whole chain and the whole development, so to create a situation that is beneficial for all participants.
Yeah, definitely, you know, I mean, and based on the global slowdown, right? So, I mean, I read somewhere the GDP estimated for Africa is 3.7 on 2023, while for the worldwide is 2.3. So shows clearly what are the forecasts and projections happening in Africa, being the main countries, Nigeria, Ethiopia, Kenya, Angola, that is coming back on track. So, you know, I mean, definitely, you know, that, but I think that on the outlook side, I think that will be also good to remark or to highlight that has been recently since the last 10 years. So, specifically, China is investing since the last 10 years with a business model that is a little bit doubtful. So Europe and US don't want to stay back. So now they are coming and they are offering not only investment but also training and development of the local countries or local people that the other business model is not doing. So definitely, yeah, it's something that that should be taken into consideration. So if we move into the projects, what are the main projects that you see they are currently ongoing, though ongoing is already, everything is already awarded, so there is not really much to do? Or what is the forecast for 2023, 2024, or even 2025 if we want to go a little bit far away? So which projects will you remark or will you highlight? You want to start, Christina? Or?
Okay. What is currently in the focus is not so much new infrastructure development or new port developments, but there is ongoing a lot of privatization efforts. So we all know about the Durban project, but there are also Gambia, there are other projects ongoing. This is change of management and change of ownership in a way. So this is definitely something which will stay on the agenda. And then, as I said, major developments, railway developments are very important, setting up special economic zones, for example, for creating value in the African countries, plays a major role. I think that's more in that direction of logistics overall than in pure infrastructure of new developments.
Okay, and Assis?
In fact, I've been able to pen down some statistics which talks about the Africa Business Intelligence says that $2 trillion worth of projects are there in Africa to be executed. And if it says $450 million worth of projects in East Africa, 400 million worth in West Africa, and $345 million worth in probably North Africa. 570 construction projects worth $450 million are planned in Africa, which talks about roads, airports, railways, and all. A huge opportunity. And it says that Egypt leads the project with over 300 active projects worth about $350 billion, followed by South Africa and Nigeria. So if at all you see there's a huge opportunity of new projects coming in to Africa, and opportunity for anybody and everybody to look for. And a few of the projects which they've already named, I would say, the Greater Tot Ahmian Floating Liquid Natural Gas Project, which is almost about 2 kilometers deep water in the maritime border of Mauritania. Mr. Mohammed must be knowing. The Sana'a Lean Gas Connection Project in Angola, which is another project which is coming up in a very good way. Then you have got another good project which is worth, is the Bowline Phase 1 project on the Ivory Coast, which is another project which people can look upon. And apart from that, you have got other infrastructure projects like the road line between Addis Ababa way to Nairobi and Mombasa in Kenya, which connects a 1700 kilometer road which is constructed to ease the transportation from one end to the other. Over and above that, the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement, which unites 45 countries of Africa with one trade agreement, and that itself is, I would say, an achievement for the growth in Africa. It lays the foundation for the growth in Africa. So that's probably talking about the future.
Okay. And Mohammed?
Yes. I want to comment on Africa.
Yeah.
We spoke about opportunities, about the attractivity of Africa, but we didn't speak about the challenges and the concerns. Africa for a long time have been seen as an area of concerns, difficulties. But I think with what happened with COVID, we witnessed that nowhere is spared with concerns.
Yeah.
And that Africa was even safer. We suffered less than the rest of the world. What is happening now with Ukraine also is showing us that Africa is not only the place of trouble or war, and war can happen everywhere. It's why Africa is not a place like anywhere, but it is a place virgin, huge, with big growth. Big growth on demography. At the end of this century, Africa will be the third of the world. And the half of the youth will be in Africa. And if you look at 22, in many places, almost in 4 of the 5 continents, there was recession. There was no growth. Africa, the 54 countries of Africa passed through with a positive GDP, which is very, very important. And this year, the forecasts are giving some African countries more than 6%, even close to 10, 9%, which is extraordinary. Then, if we look at, you spoke about the raw material exported on bulk, exported as it is, and how the hydrogen, the energy prospects are giving Africa the opportunity to transform in place, then to create added value, create jobs. I think Africa is a destination of the future. This is my opinion.
Yeah.
And it's why myself, my company are focusing on Africa, investing in Africa. We invested in fisheries, we invested in logistics, and now we are looking to expand in Western Africa.
Okay. No, I mean, it is clear, you know, and I think that the audience already got the clear message that Africa is the place to be. Yes, there is. I'm showing now on the slides what are the pros and cons, or what are the drivers. So yes, there is a slow down on the global economy. There is elections, we don't have to forget, happening in 2023 and 2024. So that is also very important and can destabilize. We just saw it what happened in Angola during
That's the
2020.
problem of the elections.
If you don't win, that's the problem.
Yeah, you have seen what happened in the United States with the election. Yes. And it is in Brazil with the election. What's the problem? So I mean, we had last year we had more than 15 elections in Africa. And they went very well.
Yes.
But I thought that Brazil in the United States.
Yeah, I mean, as long as all is down like this, it is fine, you know. But also there is another constraints in Africa that it is happening currently. But anyhow, so the main projects we cannot.
Sorry. This is what exactly makes the return on investment in Africa bigger.
Correct.
This is one of the main attractivity of Africa, the concerns.
And that's the reason why everyone is looking into Africa, right?
I'm sorry, I'm the only African among the panels.
That's true.
Yeah.
No, I mean it is very important, you know. So and there are so many projects ongoing, on the phase of being carried out. So there is a gas pipeline from Nigeria to Morocco, 5,000 kilometers, 13 countries. Everyone will get benefit out of it.
Sure.
There is in Tanzania ACOP that will link whatever is happening on the Lake Albert in Uganda, Kingfisher Lake, with Tanga plan. So we have in Mozambique, though happen what everyone knows about the diets and so on. So now it's coming back.
In Uganda,
Is in
big project.
correct?
And X-Link between Morocco and the United Kingdom
Correct.
to deliver electricity for 7 million households.
And then there is South Africa with the mining. So there is so there are so many projects on the way, but projects that are above the ones that we just mentioned are above $5 billion each, right? So project value. So I mean the opportunities are immense. So I think that now Africa is being seen like the place. Well, and we even can talk about the agricultural land, you know. So how many land is in Africa that can be used?
In sunny for 365 days.
So anyhow, tackling the last part of the panel description, you know. So it's okay for someone that is willing to enter in the market, someone that wants to invest, someone that put the Africa, the radar on Africa. So what are the hints, or what are the for instance, Cristina, this question is for you. So what are the chances and challenges, you know, if someone wants to invest? So what's the procedure, or what's, of course, is on a helicopter view. We don't expect here to have the full business plan. But I mean, what you will recommend with your experience?
Well, the first thing, of course, is know your market, right? So you need a sound basis for any development, and that means you need to know what the prospects are, what the basic industries are, what development in the future will be. So you talk to a lot of people, and that's absolutely essential. And based on that, you then develop your operational model. So whatever industry you're talking about, you need to manage it, to operate it, and also for that, you need a sound basis of information and of data to develop the best business model that fits your investment. And of course, at the end of the day, ends have to be met, and the financial viability has to work out. So very often it's also important. It's not just the investor, it's also for the region or for the country it is important. So there are also the usual opportunities to say, okay, this is a financial viable project, but this is also an economically viable project because there are additional benefits generated, like, for example, job creation in the country. And I think that's especially especially also important for African countries, putting emphasis on value creation in the country and also at the same time training and educating people so that a sustainable development at the end of the day can be reached. So having a win-win situation for all, the investor and the country itself.
Okay, no, that. So, Aziz, what will be your thoughts if, I mean, a global investor or an investor wants to look into Africa? What could you share with your own experience?
In fact, if I would say Africa has always been the land of opportunities, and it is the right time now to invest in Africa. The demography of Africa helps. The population is on the rise by 25% year on year up to a particular point in time, and that will require a lot of infrastructure to be developed, be it roads, schools, houses, hospitals, airports, terminals, whatever you call. And according to the UN data, Africa offers a highest rate of return on investment than any other emerging market. Probably the competition is less intense, and a few foreign companies have their presence, and pent-up consumer demand is strong. So that's another reason why one should invest in Africa. And more so, the youth, the age, the more the youth, the more the demand. And now the youth is not just unemployed, they're trying to get employed, they're trying to get educated. They get education from overseas and come back to Africa to develop Africa in a very big way. So the wages are increasing, so the cost of living is increasing in Africa, the lifestyle is getting better in Africa. So this is all the more a reason to set up a shop in Africa for a better future. So Africa is the next destination in all the areas which you look at. And that is where we all should look at Africa from now.
I mean, Mohammed, you have been the whole life in Mauritania. So as you said, you are the only African in the panel. You have seen during 30, 40 years the development of your country, Mauritania, and the surrounds, and the whole Africa, by the way. So what will be your recommendations if someone wants to come tomorrow and say, hey, I want to invest in Mauritania, I want to invest in West Coast? So how you will approach that?
Yeah, thank you. Very good question. My suggestion to anyone who is interested in going in Africa, anywhere in Africa, to look at Africa as any other countries first. To have a good project with good study, and we have with the intention to work properly, not just to go to Africa as a trove opportunities where we can shortcut the law, do whatever we want because we have good connection, good friends. This is a mistake. You have to have good project with a sustainable business model and come to Africa in a respect way. Not just because Africa is easy, we can do whatever we want, there is no rules, no law. This is not the right way to go. If you have a good project and you read very well the law, you take the good expertise, and if you need partner, in some countries you need partner because there is a local content, you go with good partner, you have no problem. There are good opportunities and your business will be successful. And we have the mountains of good and very successful business in Africa. But the problem is a lot of people come to Africa as a place where there is no law, no rules. You just need to know somebody who is well connected. Okay, he will open very widely the door, but he can also lock it on you. And it's what happens very often. Okay, my suggestion, in short, is to have good project, to respect people, to train people, to bring the know-how, and do as anywhere. The only difference is Africa is virgin. You need to make more effort because sometimes you need to bring with you all the services because you don't have around you the supply chain, the subcontractors. But there is a way to manage it because of the return on investment. But my suggestion again, Africa is like anywhere, and Mauritania is like any other country in Africa.
Yeah. I mean, if we, and that's for all the panelists, as an example, working for a SME, I want to expand my business. I heard in Google or in the media that there is a good opportunity in X country. We can say Mauritania, I can say. So, but we are talking here about this small medium enterprise. So, your recommendation will be to go and make all the business plan, all the studies, to see the feasibility, or really we'll see, okay, I mean, I think that I have a good plan, I really didn't do any calculation, but I'm decided to go and open a company in X country. So will you believe that that will be because most of the times we can see that the biggest business happening currently in the world are persons that they really didn't think much and they act. So I would like, and this for the three of you, I would like to understand if you will be someone that you went really to having everything in place, everything well studied, all the routes, all the alternatives, or let's be action man or woman, and then let's go and do the business. So what you will do?
I leave it to them, and I will comment.
Cristina?
Well, that's a difficult question, actually.
Thank you.
Well, being a consultant, I obviously have to answer, do your studies first, right? But I think what is really needed is a good combination of all. You need a brilliant idea, you need to move forward, and you need to be able to react fast without losing track of what's going on as well. So your competitors, for example. So maybe your idea is not as unique as you think by yourself. So have that checked. But in general, I think it's a good idea to move a bit faster than we are normally doing, especially in Germany, if I may say so. We are trying to overcomplicate things, and I think it's a good idea to get a combination of it, get your information basis right, but try to move fast and try to get going.
Okay, Aziz, you as an entrepreneur.
There's no way for Africa except to grow. From an underdeveloped country for several decades, I would say, the only way is upwards and to be into the league of the developing nations. And from a part of underdeveloped to developing, it's a hard way to go. But then, even the politicians, if I would say, whosoever comes in power, they don't have any other choice but to spend more money to develop infrastructure to gain their popularity in this particular area. So whatever be the state of Africa today, it is going to improve over a period of time. And this improvement is going to be benefiting all the investors across the entire world. If you would put it this way, that all the developed nations are investing heavily in Africa because they have found something in Africa which has something for the developed nations. You talk about minerals, you talk about oil, you talk about gold, you talk about people, whatever it is. So there's always, I would say there's some takeaway from Africa which everybody is looking at. And wherever anything happens, we as logistics players are always there as the first movers to move the cargo, without which nothing moves. So for us is the right destination to be in Africa, today or tomorrow, whatever it be.
Ahmed?
I agree with him, but there is something very, very important. Africa, like other maybe other places in Latin America, you can get easily the license, but what you are not able to get in Europe or North America. This is one very, very important thing. But to get a license or the authorization or to get your business elected, you need to follow the law. Don't do it exactly by shortcut. And if you want to partner with somebody who is very well established, who has a real business. Don't go with somebody who is just a broker. This is a lot of people who make mistakes. They go with people who has no established business. Then come to Africa. Africa is where to go now.
Okay, and with that, we will open the session for the Q&As, except for the Schenker people, if someone else wants to ask anything, you know. So, if there is anyone or any question.
We have been too good.
even after the panel, if someone wants to approach the panelists, please do so, you know. So the contact details are available. Okay.
To the Mauritanian gentleman from Marilog, I mean, Mauritania is a unique position because really you're at the crossroads. Very often one talks of sub-Saharan Africa and North Africa or Mediterranean Africa, and Mauritania really straddles both, and it's got so much opportunities as a focus of it. You mentioned a lot about the oil and gas, but also Mauritania has also got amazing fisheries, amazing mining. For me, the biggest potential for the whole of Africa, but Mauritania is one of them, is the people potential. What kind of initiatives do you see happening in Africa, particularly Mauritania and around West Africa, in terms of training up the people to the position to really achieve the potential that can drive these projects forward? Because a lot of it's about the skills levels.
Yeah, I didn't.
Please, the last word of your question, please. A question.
Training in Mauritania and raising the skill levels.
Training.
This is a really a big, very, very big challenge. But if we look at the iron ore, where we have been operating, Mauritania has been producing and exporting iron ore for more than 60 years. 100% of the staff of the mining company are Mauritanian because they have been trained. If you look at the fisheries, 60,000 fishermen are Mauritanian because they have been trained. Now, with the new Mauritanian are like anywhere, I won't say Africa or Asia, people are eager to work, they are hungry for a job, they only need the opportunities. They are willing to learn. About the global strategy, we lack a strategy, we lack more effort, but I believe more on the training on the field by the companies who bring the know-how than the education by academy. Myself, I established a joint venture 2 years ago with a British company to provide training to Mauritanian for the oil and gas. And we delivered just a month ago more than 60 NEBOSH certificates, more than 70 dangerous goods certificate. We brought people from UK, we are bringing people from France, and we are providing training. And we have a lot of people interested in that. At the same time, Mauritania is a Francophone company, Arabophone country. We have a few people work in English. We are now giving lessons in English too. And we are not the only one. We have other organizations giving services for training, education, vocational training, and other, how do you say it?
sector, you know.
No, practical training.
Technical.
Yeah, internship.
Technical, yeah. So thanks. Any other question? Curry. Yep. Here, the gentleman front.
You know this man? Do you know this gentleman?
No,
Maybe he's German, no?
I don't know. We'll
Hi.
talk later.
So the question is in regards to entering the market. You said, is it a good time to invest in Africa? How would you advise people to protect against deteriorating FX environment? You see, the currency risk is great in Africa. The governments are running really high debt to GDP ratios, for example, Ghana, and you can literally lose 50% of your investment in dollar terms in like a couple of weeks. So how would you advise people to protect against the FX risk, right? Because the capital markets are not that developed that you can hedge your exposures, right? Because there are no dealers to write FRA contracts or forward rate agreements on the exchange rates. So about that.
Sorry, the question is for all the panel or for
Anybody who would want to answer, yeah.
So who wants to
For the consultant.
answer?
Or Christian.
Christina or
Christina, she is a consultant. She knows everything.
Far from it. Well, as I said before, it's know your market, and B, establish good relations within a certain country. So when you're coming from outside without knowing how things work, you will fail. That's for sure. You need to set up your company. You need to have your intelligence going and knowing what happens.
Sonorization is not good, no?
And
Sonorization.
of course, certain risks you need to take into account, and in some areas risks are higher than in others. So there we are, moving forward fast or moving forward in a secure way is not always one or the other. Sometimes you need to make a decision where you want to go and take certain risks, and in some countries these risks are higher than in other countries. But also the gains sometimes are higher than. So they, in my opinion, there's no black and white. This is just a question of how to.
sorry.
If you talk about investment, you should not look at a short-term investment. The investment should be on a longer horizon. Because here you are converting this country from underdeveloped to a developing country. So the hurdles, the challenges, and now looking at the global scenario, it will be much more. So you cannot expect that today you invest and maybe within about 6 months or a year, you would get your returns. So the horizon would be somewhere around 5 to 7 years or maybe 10 years, where you will see your return on investment on a cumulative basis on a much larger value than compared to any other emerging market. So we've been there, invested in Africa for the last 15 years, and we know that there's safety, there's surety, but there's delay. And that delay would probably sometimes make you feel that why am I here? But on a longer run, if you see, you will feel safe that yes, you were there for good reasons and not just for a one-time investment.
Javet, you want to comment? I mean, if I may say, from my experience, right? So, coming from Europe, I'm 13 years in the region, not only Middle East, but also Africa. So, yeah, I hear what you say, that there is too much risk, and sometimes, you invest and then you lose the investment. But on this part of the world, if you are not like this, you miss the opportunity. So there is. That's why I asked before earlier to the panelists what did they think about by the time that you have to invest, you need to do all the studies. Happened to me a couple of times that I was thinking too much, and then but this return and this and that, and then someone else did it, and then now it's fruitful business, right? So I mean, I don't want to say, okay, you need to jump into the pool, right? But there is not really much thinking here, right? So the wheel is already around. So there is not really to reinvent a lot.
Yeah.
So you only need to have a proper system in place, proper procedures in place, and suitable manpower, right? So and manpower, if there is known, preferable or local one. But if you don't have these local people, you need to train them, as Yaya has said, you know. Again, I don't want to encourage anyone to jump into the pool without water. But I mean, if you don't move quick, you're out here in this region, you know.
Yeah.
I hope
make
this answer.
You need to make budget.
Any other question? Now that I'm getting warm.
Very good. No, on time, no?
Perfect. On time. So anyhow, I will ask an applause to our panelists, please. And
Thank you.
thank you so much for your attendance, and hopefully we have given to you a glance of what is Africa. We will be more than happy to stay a little bit longer if someone else wants to talk to us or ask anything. Thank you so much and have a nice evening.